Okay, good afternoon today. I will present to you the Q2 financial results of Asian Seafoods, and I will also go into a bit more detail about our several business segments and our outlook for the rest of the year. Asian Seafood is a company engaged in seafood processing, already more than 40 years, later on diversified into feed business and also in pet food business. We are organized in under Asian Seafood Cold Storage, which is the public listed company. And within this entity we have several wholly owned subsidiaries. One is our company in Surat Thani, Asian Surat, where we do frozen seafood, mostly shrimp and squid. Asian Alliance International, which is located in Samut Sakhon, and where we are canning tuna and various kinds of pet food. Asian Feed is in Petburi, and this is where we produce aquaculture feed, both for shrimp and fish. A Food is a company engaged in the trading of aqua products, mostly import and distribution. And Asian Group Services, or AGS, is a company that is engaged in marketing and brand development. And under this business we have over the past 2 years made several acquisitions. One is in a joint venture, Maria, which is a joint venture with in Interpretina company, where we have a 40% stake. Another is in Asian Group Europe, or AGE, where we have a 60% stake. And this is a company engaged in the sales and distribution of our pet food in the European market. And then we have 100% shareholding in Thailand company, which is our Chinese import, sales and distribution company. And we recently completed an acquisition of altogether 51% in Thailand Meisu, which is a pet food factory in China. We are a company that thinks it is important to comply with all regulations when it comes to quality of the products, food safety, and also when it comes to the terms and conditions of labor. We are complying to laws. We are trying to encourage equal pay and fair treatment wherever possible, also in other parts of our supply chain. And this is important for us because we want to be a good company in that respect. Also, Asian is one of the first companies that joined the anti-corruption club of listed companies on the Thai Stock Exchange. Like I mentioned, we are over 40 years in business. In 1993 and 1994, we were listed on the Thai Stock Exchange. Subsequently, we expanded our activities in shrimp processing, in squid processing, in pet food and fish feed. The last few years we have invested mostly in our marketing capabilities. Our strategy assumes that we want to go closer to the consumers, and in that sense we need to be literally closer to consumers. Hence we invested in our subsidiary in Europe and China. And as part of that exercise we are also focusing a lot into brand development. Q2 highlights. We had a total sales revenues of close to 2 billion baht, 1,971 million, which was a almost 15% drop in sales revenues compared to the year before. And the main contributing factors here was, on one hand, lower pet food sales compared to 1 year ago, lower seafood sales, especially commodity seafood, and a weaker exchange rate. Our gross profit amounted 162 million baht, which was around 8.2% of total sales, and that was down from 11.8% a year before. And our profit before tax was 20 million baht, which was around 1% of total sales, as opposed to 3.5% last year. So altogether, you could say a slow quarter, and I will go into a bit more detail as to the underlying reasons for that. In our operational EBIT, we booked 40 million baht, which was lower than a year ago, but more or less in line with what we booked in Q1. However, we had significant non-recurring costs, and these had partly to do with the reorganization of our commodity shrimp business, where we are winding down this activity, and that also comes with a restructuring of the organization. I will come back on that later. This is a picture showing the sales revenues per quarter and the gross profit per quarter over a period of 4 years. It shows two things. One is that the business we have has a certain seasonality. The first 2 quarters tend to be slower than the last 2 quarters, and you can see that in the pattern over the past years. However, this seasonality is getting less. Most of this is due to the fact that both in shrimp processing and shrimp feeding, biology is important, and biology tells a bigger part of the growth takes place in the summer and after the summer. Now, our business is slowly developing into more pet food, more let's say value-added products, and in that sense we are less depending on the commodity seasonality. We expect for Q3 an uptick of our sales, mainly because of partly of the seasonality in our frozen business, but also we expect that our pet food sales will resume again after a what slower Q2 sales level. This picture shows our gross profitability. It's moving roughly between 8 and 12%. Last quarter was 8.2%. You see also that in general, within the first half year, our gross profitability is somewhat lower compared to the second half of the year. And this again has to do with higher volumes pushing through the factories, which improves our gross profit in that sense. Also, our gross profit is related to the dollar-Thai exchange rate. We invoice around 80% of our sales in dollars, and even though we are hedging most of these transactions, still the impact in our gross profit is visible. Under Thai accounting rules, the results on exchange on forward contracts, on hedge contracts, is not included into the gross profit. So that's why you see here the results and gross profitability before those corrections. Our working capital. This has, if you look at the picture below left, net working capital days, this has steadily been decreasing, and quite significantly, by the way. A year ago, we were at 135 working capital days, and last quarter we were at 107 working capital days. We expect this will be around this level going forward, around 100, 110 days. The main exercise that we have done is reducing our inventories, both in frozen shrimp and in squid. And at the same time, we have been very actively managing our accounts receivable, particularly in the feed business, which is domestic sales. And this has paid off. We have, over the past 5 to 6 quarters, reduced our working capital significantly from altogether 3.3 billion to 2.5 billion. And that has freed up a lot of cash. And when you look into our financing structure, you also see the results here. Our debt to equity ratio has improved a lot from 1.7 in Q2 2018 to 1.2 in last quarter. Our net debt to equity ratio shows a similar sign with 1.4 in a year ago to 0.9 last quarter. And again, you see our total interest-bearing debt, which is closely related to the working capital developments, and that has reduced from 3.5 to 2.6 billion baht. Our debt structure is exactly as we want it to be, which is half in long-term and half in short-term instruments, with of course around 10 to 20% part as a short-term current portion. Our wet pet food business is located in Samut Sakhon. It's in our canning plant where we produce pet food together with tuna canning. In our pet food strategy, we want to be a co-developer with our customers. We produce mostly for brand owners, and as such we have a fairly large R&D team who is working one-on-one with the product development people of our customers, and that proves to be a successful concept. We have the main brands as our customers, focusing mostly on the American and European markets. Increasingly, we are looking at Japan and China for this business, and we are operating under long-term relationships, and for some customers we have a fixed contract which defined volumes and terms and conditions, and that brings stability in our pet food business, on which basis we are also able to invest further. We are targeting premium customers. We moved away from pet food as a byproduct of tuna canning, but instead we focus on premium products, which are a growing segment in the pet food market overall. As I mentioned, for over a year we are now working on developing our own brands, and I will come back to that. But not only our own brands, also our own distribution setup. with a big focus on the Chinese market, where we have our own subsidiary company that is importing the products and also selling and distributing the products, both offline through physical distributors and pet shops, but also online using the various platforms and also our own dedicated platform that we developed ourselves. As a consequence of having brands, we also concluded we need to be active in dry pet food, and for that purpose we acquired a controlling interest in a factory in Shandong, which is operating 2 years in a new facility, and we concluded this transaction last month, and the plan for this is to implement the same quality standards that we are applying in our Samut Sakhon factory and operate this dry pet food factory according to international standards and also serve international customers in the Chinese market. As you can see, Q2 was slow compared to the quarters before. This has the two main factors here were on one hand we have a quite declining dollar, which affected the sales value of our products, but also in volume we were down, and this had to do with one big customer where that reorganized its supply chain and worked towards much lower inventory levels. And that meant that most of the inventory that was present has been cleared, and during that period of time the new orders were less than before. Now this process is nearing its finalization, and I expect that in Q3 we will deliver according to the levels that we have done before again. Nevertheless, our profitability was okay. We have a fairly efficient setup in our pet food operation. As you know, we combine this with our tuna business, and we are able to move and shift from tuna to pet food and the other way around. So in that sense, we can optimize our total plant efficiency. Q3 is expected to be higher than our Q2 sales, and I expect this trend will continue in Q4. Here are some pictures of and some details of our factory in Shandong. The full name is Shandong Taya Mesu Pet Foods. This will be an OEM manufacturer. That means this company is not going to produce its own brands, but it will be producing dry pet food for Chinese brands, for our own brands, Monchu, the Asian seafood brand, and we are trying to attract also customers that we currently serve with our wet pet food from Samut Sakhon, insofar they are interested to sell into the Chinese markets. It's a modest investment, altogether around 10 million RMB, which is close, including some working capital investments, around 50 million baht. This is because it's a relatively small company with a capacity of 20,000 ton. If you would achieve a full capacity, then the sales of this business the sales revenues of this company will be around 800 million baht to 1 billion baht. So our first focus is to utilize this capacity fully and operate under the international standards that we want. And then we will see if we can either extend capacity in this factory or maybe build a factory, a second factory in another location in China. So implementation of our quality standards in this factory will take, I expect, 3 to 6 months. So early next year we will actively start producing for other brands there. Monchu is our pet food brand in China. We have introduced this at the beginning of this year, and we are now rolling out this brand. Altogether, we are, I think this was end of July, 405 pet shops. We are in over 500 pet shops in China now. Partly we supply and sell to these shops through our own sales organization based in Guangzhou, and partly we use distributors. So we are setting up a network of distributors. At the moment we have 13 distributors in various parts of China, and this will be further developed in the course of this year to take full coverage of the Chinese market. Both, like I mentioned, we do this both offline and online. We believe that in order to enter the market with a new brand, you need to be present offline. People need to see and feel the products. And once we have enough penetration offline, then we will shift our attention more to online marketing. Our product is a good product in a way that we try to combine all the good things that we do for numerous customers into one product, and that highlights the food safety that we apply, the choice of ingredients, but particularly we are focusing Monchu as a brand which is very much humanized. If you look and taste the products, it is a real treat. And hence our slogan, serve the best for your pet. We are not feeding our pets, we are serving them a dinner. Back in Samut Sakhon in pet food, we are nearing the completion of our automatic warehouse in our plant. That's a huge warehouse, around 15,000 pallet places, and this will be fully automated, connected to our ERP system, and it will handle both incoming goods and outgoing goods. We expect this to be operational by the end of the year, probably getting into full action in Q1 next year. We're looking forward to this. It will improve our control and our reliability in delivery enormously, because it takes out a lot of manual labor and location management. Our tuna business, we are in tuna canning. We are not a big company, we are not a small company, we are something in between. And what we do is we target on certain niches of the markets, which are products that are a little bit more complicated to produce than the standard products. And we are not speculating in this business. It means we are buying the raw materials that we can sell, and we are selling the raw materials that we can buy. So we take very little inventory positions. And the reason for this is that we believe that tuna prices are volatile and increasingly following patterns that we have not seen before. So we just want to eliminate any risk in that. Our tuna business was slightly down compared to a year before, and this was to a large extent because of the low tuna raw material prices, and we expect that this will move up as tuna prices are trending up again in the recent months. Our volumes, we expect them to increase for the second half of this year as well, and this is based on a good order intake, particularly for the Middle East market. So for Q3 we anticipate higher sales, which probably will continue into Q4 as well. In our frozen seafood business, we have currently we are operating 2 factories. Beginning of this year, we terminated the operations in our Klong Toi, Bangkok factory, and we moved production into the Samut Sakhon factory. This because we wanted to optimize our capacity utilization, and we are still not finished with this whole process. We are considering, like I mentioned at my introduction, our commodity business. Right now we have terminated commodity shrimp for the American market. We are producing still commodity shrimp for the Chinese market, and we may continue doing so as long as the market conditions are right. But overall, our focus will be 100% on value-added products, which is basically fried items. This is an area where we think we can make acceptable margins. One underlying reason is that the shrimp production cost in Thailand are relatively high compared to our major competing countries, which is India and Ecuador. And we don't see that this is going to change anytime soon. And therefore, we believe that for commodity shrimp products, Thailand is not the ideal producing nation. However, we believe that the processing technology in Thailand is much more advanced than in the other countries I mentioned. And therefore, a strategy where you focus on value-added products is quite feasible. We operate with several brands, Blue Chef being our new brand, which we are introducing into the Thai market. We want to focus a bit more on our domestic sales as well. So far we have been only exporting, and we believe that there are still also opportunities in the Thai domestic market, and Blue Chef will be one of those actions for that purpose. We will also introduce Blue Chef brand into the Chinese market. We are, as I mentioned, we have our own import and distribution company in China, and that will not be only for pet food, it will also be for seafood in the future. Our sales revenues were lower compared to a year before, mainly because of lower shrimp sales and lower silago business. Silago is the fish you eat in a tempura meal. We expect that it will increase in Q3, as Q3 is the main harvest month for shrimp, but not as much as as we saw last year. And this had to do, again, with the decision to terminate commodity shrimp business. Our squid business was stable compared to last year. Also here, the availability of raw material is not easy. Catches are trending down. However, we have, with our squid brand, a very good position in the European market, mostly in Italy. And this is a kind of niche market which we are servicing today and will continue to do so. And it has shown to be somewhat resilient for price fluctuations, but that's only up to a certain extent, of course. So we expect this will remain stable and not grow for the next time to come as a result of the catch. Our aquaculture feed business, we have a factory in Petbury with two different types of products. One is pelleted feed and the other one is extruded feed. Pelleted feed is used in shrimp feed and it is sinking to the bottom of the pond, and extruded feed is for fish and it is floating. We have seen a little lower sales revenues and volume. However, if you look into the composition of our sales, we have had a significant increase in both shrimp and sea bass feed. And those two types of feed are actually the focus of our business. The lower sales revenues were in tilapia and catfish feed, which is a relatively low-valued feed. So overall, the product mix in our feed sales has improved. And as a result, also results have improved. And we also have been working towards a better management of our accounts receivable. Bear in mind, we sell to farmers in Thailand. Many of those customers are not legal entities, but private individuals. And if shrimp prices are low or a harvest is failing, then it is not easy to collect the accounts receivable that are outstanding. So this requires a disciplined approach, and we have been working to that over the past 1.5 years. And this has not helped boosting sales, as you can imagine. On the other hand, we have a much better collectability of our sales at the moment, and our overdue accounts receivable portion is actually decreasing. And those are good trends. I expect our sales revenues will increase in Q3, again, particularly in shrimp and sea bass. And I expect also in Q4 we will end up with a higher volume than last year. We have also spent significant effort to improve the product quality with updating our formulas, and this has shown to be successful with good feedback from our customers. Another area where we are looking into is in the production of baby shrimp. We have an hatchery in the south of Thailand, where we are producing baby shrimp with a different genetic than most customers in Thailand are using, and those results are very promising. We have achieved very good results in a few cycles this year, and we are now looking into ways to scale up this business in order to provide the market with top quality baby shrimp. Our distribution business is mostly a bit opportunistic. We have good relations with many suppliers of seafood and also with the modern trade in Thailand. So we have had a good quarter in Q2, and we expect that we will get a quite stable result in Q3 and Q4 as well. The sales revenues are fluctuating according to the different species that we are trading, but the main focus is on the profitability here, which is stable and okay. I want to conclude with our outlook for the rest of the year. We have reduced our sales revenue target for 2019. We estimate this will be around 10.2 billion baht, based upon the results over the first 6 months and our outlook over the rest of the year. Our frozen business will be somewhat lower than what we have originally planned, and this has to do with the termination of our commodity shrimp business. Of course, we are looking to substitute these sales revenues with value-added products, but this will take some time, and we also need to relook at our production capacity for this. Our tuna business, well on track. I expect that we would definitely reach the 1.1 billion baht that we put in here. As it seems, tuna prices are increasing over the past few months, and if this will continue like this, it is likely that we will sell more than the 1.1 billion baht. Our pet food business, a somewhat lower expectation than we had originally, and this had to do with the slow Q2 results. I expect Q3 and Q4 to pick up again, and as a result we will end up around 3.4 billion baht. In addition, we will from September onwards, we will consolidate our pet food business in China. Now this will be modest during the rest of this year. As I mentioned, the focus there is first to get our quality standards according to the same level as we operate in Thailand. So from next year onwards, I expect a much higher contribution from that activity. Our aqua feed, 1.3 billion. I expect that this is a fair estimate of our business in 2019, and our distribution business will be a little bit higher than last year, I expect, due to the performance in the first 6 months. And that would bring our total sales revenues at 10.2, which is around 7% increase compared to the year before. And that at the backdrop of a quite lower US dollar exchange rate. So in terms of volume, the growth will be a little bit higher than the sales revenues. Our consolidated gross profit for the first 6 months, 8.1%. I expect we will operate with better gross profitability in the second half of the year, and as a result we will arrive at a figure between 10 and 12% for the full year. So this concludes my presentation on the Q2 results and the outlook for 2019. In case of any questions, please feel free. Thank you. Okay, then my story must have been very clear today. Thank you for your attention and hope to see you again in Q4, which will be the Q3 results. Thank you.